This is Come Follow Me, Rest Edition, where we take this week's scripture study and end it the gentlest way I know how, by falling asleep inside it. Last week, we spent the night in a sheepfold outside Bethlehem, with a shepherd boy in the gate of the wall, and the psalm he gave the whole world. If you were there with me, you're going to want to know what happened to that boy, because this week's reading is the Psalms again, but a different shelf of them. These are the ones he wrote later, after the giant, after the crown, after life had gotten complicated the way lives do. The Psalms of the overwhelmed heart, the sleepless night, the worst mistake, and the mercy that met every one of them. The week's theme comes from one line of testimony. Come and hear, all ye that fear God, and I will declare what he hath done for my soul. And here's the thing I want you to notice all night long. That declaration wasn't written on an easy day. Not one of this week's Psalms was. These are the songs that trouble produced, which is exactly why, 3,000 years later, they are still the words people reach for at 2 a.m. And one small gift before we begin. Scattered all through the Psalms is a little word nobody fully understands. Selah. It appears 74 times, right in the middle of the poems, and the best guess of all the scholars is that it means something like, pause, rest here. Let that settle before you go on. The Psalms come with rests built in, like sheet music. Tonight, we'll take every one of them. So let yourself arrive. Feel the weight of your blankets resting on you. Let your shoulders come down, away from your ears. Let your jaw soften. Unclench your hands. Selah. Just listen. Tonight I'm taking you deep into the wilderness of Judah, east of the Bethlehem Hills, down where the land tips toward the Salt Sea, to one of the most surprising places on earth. Because this is a dry and thirsty land. Miles of pale limestone canyons, bone-colored under the moon. A land where, in the psalmist's own words, no water is, except here. Listen. Do you hear it? Water. You've come to En-gedi, the spring of the wild goats, a green secret folded into the desert. Out of the living rock, halfway up the canyon wall, a spring breaks from the stone and falls in a thin silver thread, down mossy ledges, into a small pool the color of night, and slips away between oleander and reeds. It has been falling like this, without pausing, for longer than anyone can remember. In the driest country in the world, this one canyon is never, ever thirsty. Feel where you are. You're resting on a high ledge of smooth rock above the pool. Rock that soaked up the sun all day and is giving it back to you gently now, like a warmed stone bed. The canyon walls rise pale on either side, holding the night close and quiet. And above the rim, a river of stars runs the length of the canyon, echoing the water below. The air is desert night air, clean, dry, cool on your face, but threaded through it, the green smell of the spring, wet moss and reeds and cool stone, the smell of water keeping its promise. The wind moves down the canyon in long, slow breaths, never hurried, stirring the reeds by the pool into a soft whisper, and settling. Somewhere up on the crags, the wild goats are bedded down among the rocks, sure-footed even in their sleep. A cricket here and there, unbothered, and a single ember glow, small and warm, on the ledge near you. Someone's little watchfire, banked for the night. Men on the run have always come to En-gedi, because the desert forgives no one, but this canyon shelters everyone. And 3,000 years ago, in the strongholds of these very cliffs, a man used to lie awake on ledges like this one, listening to this same water in the dark. And you'd know him anywhere. It's the boy from the gate of the sheepfold, grown now. Stay here on the warm rock, with the spring below you, and let me tell you what the wilderness nights taught the man that the fold nights never had to teach the boy. You remember him from last week. 16, harp against his shoulder, lying in the gap of the sheepfold wall. The smallest job in his father's house, and the biggest secret in Israel. Well, everything happened to that boy. The giant fell, the crown came, the kingdom, the throne, the songs sung about him in the streets. And with all of it came everything else a large life carries. Enemies, and long years hiding in this wilderness. Friendships and betrayals, loves and griefs. And, in the middle of the story, a failure so serious that the record does not hide it, and neither did he. We'll come to that, gently, because the psalm he wrote afterward may be the most merciful poem in the world. But first I want you to see what the grown man kept from the boy, because through every chapter, the caves, the crown, the worst of it, he kept two things. He kept the harp, and he kept the habit, the old fold-gate habit, of turning everything that happened to him straight upward into song. That's what this week's psalms are. Not the polished hymns of a man with everything sorted, but the working prayers of a man in the middle of things, which is to say, they're ours. There's a psalm in this week's reading that carries its birthplace in its title. A Psalm of David, the old heading says, when he was in the wilderness of Judah, here, this canyon country. And listen to how it begins. O God, thou art my God, early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is. Only a man who had been truly thirsty in this desert could have written that. He isn't using thirst as a figure of speech, he's reporting it. And he's discovered that the soul gets thirsty exactly the way the body does, and that both kinds of thirst, out here, lead to the same discovery. The spring. The one source in the dry land that never stops. And then, the verse this whole show could be built on. Listen to what the man did on his sleepless nights in these cliffs. When I remember thee upon my bed, and meditate on thee in the night watches. The night watches. In David's world, the night was divided into watches. The first watch, the middle watch, the morning watch. Sentries changing shift in the dark. And David, lying awake on some ledge, turned the sentry's schedule into a devotional practice. When sleep wouldn't come, he had a discipline for the dark hours. Remember. Not rehearse, remember. Not run tomorrow's battles, not replay yesterday's, but deliberately call up the record of God's help. Because thou hast been my help, the next line explains. Therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. Hast been, past tense, used as fuel. The night watch's practice is simply this: when the mind wants to spiral forward into worry, walk it backward instead into evidence. The prayer that was answered, the door that opened, the time you were carried. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, the psalm promises. A soul can feast in the dark on remembered mercy and fall asleep full. And when remembering wasn't enough, when the heart was simply too full, David had a shorter prayer, maybe the best short prayer ever written. From the end of the earth will I cry unto thee when my heart is overwhelmed. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Stay with that image, a man in a flood country wadi, water rising. And what he needs is not to become a stronger swimmer, he needs higher ground. And he can't reach it himself. So the whole prayer is, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Notice everything that little verse gives you permission for. It lets you say, overwhelmed, out loud to God, as a fact rather than a confession. The Psalms never once scold anyone for being overwhelmed. And it relocates the solution off of you. You are not asked to be your own high ground. There is a rock that is higher than you, older than your trouble, drier than the flood, wide enough to sleep on, and your only job is the sheep's old job from last week, wearing new words. Be led there. Thou hast been a shelter for me, the psalm goes on. I will abide in thy tabernacle forever. I will trust in the covert of thy wings. The covert of thy wings, the sheltered place under the wing where the chick goes in the storm, warm, dark, close to the heartbeat. That's where this psalm ends. That's where you're lying right now, if you want to be. Part 4, The Man Who Couldn't Sleep, Psalm 77. Now, not all this week's psalms are David's. One belongs to a temple musician named Asaph, and Asaph wrote down, with wonderful honesty, the worst night of his life. In the day of my trouble I sought the Lord, he begins. My soul refused to be comforted. I remembered God and was troubled. I complained and my spirit was overwhelmed. And then this line, anyone who has watched a ceiling until 3 a.m. has already written it in their heart. Thou holdest mine eyes waking. I am so troubled that I cannot speak. His eyes are held open. He can't even pray in sentences anymore. And he starts asking the terrible night questions, the ones the small hours specialize in. Will the Lord cast off forever? Is his mercy clean gone forever? Doth his promise fail? Hath God forgotten to be gracious? The psalm lets him ask every one, and then watch the turn. It's the same turn David made in the night watches, and it is the oldest move in the book of the sleepless. And I said, I will remember the works of the Lord. Surely I will remember thy wonders of old. I will meditate also of all thy work. He stops interrogating the future and starts touring the past. He walks himself back through the sea that parted, the waters that saw God and were afraid, the whole long record. And as he remembers, something quietly changes in the room. The questions don't all get answered, but the asker gets held. And the psalm ends with 2 of the most beautiful lines in the Bible. Listen. Thy way is in the sea, and thy path in the great waters, and thy footsteps are not known. Thou leddest thy people like a flock. His footsteps are not known. God's path through your life, this verse admits, is often invisible. Like a path through open water, it closes behind him and leaves no trail you can audit. And yet, like a flock, there's our shepherd again, 1 week later, still leading. You cannot always see the footsteps. You are still being led. Both true. Selah. So that's what this week's reading gave us. And now it's just you and me again. The spring, falling in its thin silver thread, the warm rock, and the night. 3 small stones, like always, smooth ones, one at a time, and then I'll let you sleep. The first stone is the night watches. When I remember thee upon my bed, David's discipline for the dark hours, and Asaph's rescue in his. If your eyes are held waking tonight, don't fight the dark, and don't hand it to your worries. Give it David's assignment instead. Remember, walk backward through the evidence. 1 answered prayer, 1 door that opened, 1 time you were plainly carried, because thou hast been my help. Let the past tense feed you. A soul really can be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, lying perfectly still, feasting on the record. The second stone is the short prayer. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Keep it by the bed like a glass of water. It's for the moments too full for long prayers, and it asks for exactly the right thing. Not that you be made stronger, but that you be led higher. You were never meant to be your own high ground. There is a rock older than your flood, and the covert of the wing is open all night. Warm, dark, close to the heartbeat. Overwhelmed is allowed. Just say where you'd like to be carried. And the third stone is the offering. A broken and a contrite heart thou wilt not despise. If tonight's heaviness is the kind that comes from your own failing, an old chapter or a fresh one, then you, especially you, should hear this week's mercy plainly. The broken heart is not your disqualification. It is the one offering heaven asks for, and it has never once been refused. Create in me a clean heart is a prayer that gets answered, with creation-grade newness, whiter than snow. So make the ask, and then do the boldest thing repentance allows. Receive the answer and sleep forgiven. Restored joy is part of the package. David asked for that too, and got it. Remembered mercy, a rock that is higher, and a broken heart received like treasure. Come and hear, all ye that fear God, and I will declare what he hath done for my soul. Selah. Stay on the warm rock with me, just a little longer. The canyon has gone perfectly still. The wind has finished its long breaths and settled, and now there is mostly the spring, falling in its thin silver thread, out of the living rock, down the mossy ledges, into the dark pool, on and on. Water in a thirsty land, keeping its promise, the way it has every night for 3,000 years, the way it will tonight, whether anyone is listening or not. Up on the crags, the wild goats are deep asleep among the stones, sure-footed even in their dreams. every one of them bedded on rock that is higher. The little watchfire beside you is down to one soft breathing ember, unworried, its work done. And somewhere on a ledge like this one, long ago, a king with a harp has finally stopped playing, his hand gone still on the strings, remembering in the night watches, until the remembering became rest. Your breathing has slowed, in and out, like the spring, arriving and giving, arriving and giving, plenteous, unhurried, never once run dry. His footsteps are not known, and you are still being led, like a flock. Whiter than snow, the clean heart already being created, quietly, the way worlds are made, while you sleep. Under the covert of the wing now, warm, dark, close to the heartbeat, mercy and truth are met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other, and the meeting place is here. My soul, wait thou only upon God. He only is my rock. I shall not be moved. Selah. I hope this story brings you the same peace it brings me. Sleep well. We'll meet again next week.